Hey everyone, welcome to the B-Side Breakdown second episode. My name is Brett Johnson. I am your host, and this podcast is one where I interview an artist, musician, songwriter, whatever they want to call themselves, about a piece of music or song they've written that is most meaningful to them and really get into the why behind it. Today I'm going to be speaking with Eric Fairchild from the band Secretly Drowning. They were a Minneapolis, Minnesota band in the early 2000s, and here is their song, The Flame.
6:30 a.m. It always hurts him most in the morning. Can't seem to get her out of his head. He knows a lot about love, far too much about regret. He holds his head up high, trying hard to forget. He would have thought that she would notice that somebody was listening when he called out her name. He holds his head up high and walks into the flame. As he burns, he hears the voices say, someday you'll find your peace of mind. With or without her, the will to be is all you need now. 6:30 a.m. She hasn't slept for days and she sees a silhouette above her head. She's wondering what went wrong. Why couldn't she change his mind? Stuck inside a dream, hoping that she'll wake to forget. She would have thought that he would notice that somebody was listening when she called out his name. She holds her head up high and walks into the flame. As she burns, she hears the voices say, someday you'll find your peace of mind. With or without him, the will to be is all you need Someday they'll find their peace of mind. They will find a way. The will to be is all they need now. They'll find a way. Find a way.
All right, and that was The Flame by Secretly Drowning. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll be back with Eric Fairchild. Please stay with us. Hey again, it's Brett from the B-Side Breakdown. Real quick, if you're digging this podcast and want to hear episodes without the ads, you can join our supporters tier called Down for the Cause over on Patreon. It's $5 a month. You get all of the episodes ad-free. You get them in advance before they're published, and you help keep this whole labor of love alive. That's at patreon.com/B-Side Breakdown. All right, we'll be back in just a minute. All right, and we're back. So let's bring in Eric Fairchild. Hey, Eric, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Brett, how are you?
Good, man. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us and to tell a bit about this song you want to talk about.
Yeah, always happy to talk about music. Sometimes weird to talk about your own music, but whatever. I'm into it.
I hear that. Yeah, it's always a little goofy, but then it's, you know, at least I'm asking you, because I was thinking about doing a version of this where I was going to interview myself, and that was just ridiculous. I'm like, how am I going to answer my own questions about, you know, so whatever. But anyway, you sent over a song from a band you were in a long time ago. That's the band I met. You were in when I met you, Secretly Drowning, and it was a Minneapolis-based band from early 2000s. And you gave me a song called "The Flame." Parentheses Find a Way. That was previously unreleased, as far as I know. Has that ever been released on anything?
I don't think any official capacity. Had you ever heard it before?
I had not.
Okay, so when the band broke up, which is sort of like jumping to the end of this story,
Sure.
we put anything we hadn't released just like on our website, just for free download. Like, hey, we're breaking up. Oh, by the way, here's some songs that maybe you've never heard before. And that's the only official capacity. I think at one point, maybe like that's not true. Like a few years ago, B-Gun, Brad
Yeah.
Gunnarsson of the Midwest Movement put out like the Midwest Movement something anniversary, 20th, 15th anniversary, and it was like just a retrospective, and that it was on one of his compilations, but that's the only time.
Oh, okay.
It never came out back in the day.
Got it. And so, was the song actually recorded at the same time you recorded the Camden EP, or was it recorded wholly separately from that?
It was separate. We did the Camden EP at Orphan Records in downtown Minneapolis with Matt Kirkwald produced that, and Todd Fitzgerald engineered, and we did four songs on the Camden EP. And then we recorded a follow-up song called Maybe, also at Orphan, like after the fact. 'Cause we had like another song. We thought this one's pretty good. We should get it down to tape. And I want to say we like won a day of recording or something. There's some contest and we won a day of recording. So we went back in to record that. And this particular song, The Flame, was recorded at Master Mix Studios, which was kind of right next door to Orphan. And it was done sort of secretly and off the books. I could probably say that now because the studio doesn't exist anymore. But we definitely were like in there late at night with Matt Kirkwald and James Fluff Harley, like recording 2 songs without paying for it. And we had to kind of keep it under wraps for a little bit.
Got it. Yeah, no, that's a blast from the past, right? I mean, certainly been keeping up with Matthew Kirkwald and what he's doing musically, and completely forgot about his association with Orphan way back in the day. So that's fun to hear and fun to remember.
That's how I met him. He was a studio manager. He was working with Sunset Black.
Right.
And I, was buds with Brandon, and he was like, "Oh, we're recording. Do you want to come hang out at the studio?" And I was like, "Sure." And I met Matt at the time, and I was like, "I'm in a band too." And he was like, "Well, come in and let's do it." And that's how it happened.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember when Sunset Black was in the studio for that. It's the same thing. They're like, "Brett, you want to come to the studio with us?" I'm like, "Sure." And then here's Matt, and I was like, "Oh, hey, nice to meet you finally." But
yeah,
that's super interesting. Got it. So tell me about The Flame. Why is that song particularly meaningful to you, and what's the background on it?
Well, so it's interesting. It's probably the last song that Secretly Drowning ever wrote, and I feel like it's a little bit different maybe than some of the other sounds that we were going for as we were sort of evolving as a band. So what had happened is we put out the Camden EP, and we got some sort of like record label attention, not sort of actual record label attention, which, we were all like, this is it. It's happening. Spoiler alert, didn't happen.
Right.
But we had specifically Lava Atlantic, which Jason Flom's, imprint on Atlantic Records was really interested, and they came out to see us, and they were like, "We love these songs. Do you have another song?" And so we recorded that song, Maybe, the one we won the free day of recording. We sent that to them, and they were like, "This is great." And then they came to see us, and I think that they were like, "Oh, like they're not ready to be like the real thing." And I don't think they were wrong. We got a lot of attention maybe before we were ready for it. I recorded the Camden EP. We'd never played a show. So we were just kind of figuring out the live experience. And so when they came to see us, they were like, "Cool songs, not cool live yet. Let's give it some time." And they had asked us, "Well, when you get more songs, send them to us." And that's why we recorded The Flame, was to send it to Lava Atlantic. And so that's why it was like kind of off the books. Like, we got to get this done. We've got to actually recorded another song in that same session that never had a proper title, but that didn't turn out great. And we sent that to them and they said, yep, this isn't it. Nice working with you. And that was it. So that was kind of the end of the way that label thing worked. And I think for us, it was, well, I think it was very discouraging as a band.
Sure.
To sort of get that close or feeling like it was that close, like they're coming to see you, they're excited. And it's record label guys, they're telling me like, you get ready to quit your job, it's gonna happen. I mean, literally saying that kind of stuff,
Right.
And I'm like 22 or whatever, 23. I was so excited. And it ended up not panning out. And for them to just kind of like, we had a manager and the whole deal, and they sent the songs and they were kind of like, yeah, we're not super stoked on these new songs they're doing, so we're gonna pass. And it was like, oh. And then that was kind of the beginning of the end.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, I mean, for a song that I'd never heard before, and it's surprising to hear that was, frankly, the label's response, because I've listened to it like 20 times since he sent it to me, and I'm like, man, this is a great tune. Like, I really like it. And
I always liked it too, and I always felt like, and it's funny, like the couple friends in my life who have heard all the Secretly Drowning stuff, because most people don't know this song, are
Sure.
always like, oh, that's my favorite one. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like every song I've ever written sucks. You know how that goes. But so it's hard for me to know, but there's always a little something about it. I do feel like, so a couple funny things about this song. So I want to say I was out of town when they recorded the music. Because I pretty much only sang. I every once in a while play guitar in Secretly Drowning, but it's pretty much just the singers. They recorded the music mostly when I was gone. And unbeknownst to me, they had decided to tune. We were like always tuned down a whole step in Secretly Drowning, and they decided to tune it and record it in standard. And so it was like really hard for me to sing when I got back in, because everything I'd written was tuned down. So I remember that. I remember specifically that. I don't necessarily love the vocal performance because I can hear myself like really reaching for some of the notes and like how hard it was for me. And I actually recut the vocals. I did it once. We listened to it and I was like, this cannot be what it is. Like, I can't, I gotta sing it better than that. And so what you've heard, what you got is the re-recorded version. But that was, it was definitely, I remember that about it, feeling like it was really hard to sing. I also remember spending a lot of time on the lyrics, and feeling like Secretly Drowning was like not the first band I was a singer in, but like the first good band I was the singer in. And so the lyrics were always, I was like a guitar player. So it was like music was always the thing. The lyrics always felt like secondary. And now it's like, oh, you're the singer. You got to like really write some lyrics. And so this felt like one of the ones where I spent some time, really trying to craft a story.
Absolutely. And that's what I got from that too. And it's funny you talk about, actually, God, I love hearing that too. And that's, part of the point of why I wanted to do this podcast is to get that perspective from you, the performing artist, who's like, yeah, I was singing it and it was, kind of out of my range. And when I was listening to it, I was like, oh my God, that vocal is awesome. I mean, you killed it. And I remember listening to it and thinking about previous Secretly Drowning shows I saw where I'm like, oh wow, man, you're really pushing your range on some of this. You're still hitting it, but it's like I can tell like where that's at, where it felt like your voice just sat perfectly in the flame, which I thought was, it's so funny for me as the, the listener and the fan listening to it and then hearing that from your perspective, where it's the complete opposite experience for you. But
what's interesting is I actually feel like I could sing it now. I feel like I've spent enough time doing the work on, how to sing. I didn't have any real singing training, and I since have, and so I feel like if I were to sing it now, I could probably hit all those notes without much issue. But back then it was, just also I'm just healthier now. And I think that probably helps, just
for sure.
Your overall just ability and stamina and physical condition. I could probably sing it better now today, but it's the moment of time in time, it's the way it is.
Absolutely. And I certainly understand that just from the, I have a couple of shows coming up where I'm playing stuff from 20 years ago and I'm like, man, I haven't sang like that in 20 years. And for me, it's just, having now also taken some, actual vocal training to learn how to sing properly and how to breathe and how to do all the things and get all the mechanics working together. So I'm actually singing right instead of just getting up there and blowing out my voice, It's a wholly different experience. But
That's
I
exactly
imagine
what I was doing, right?
you
Yeah,
nailed
just
it.
like,
Yeah.
oh, wait, you're supposed to breathe? Wait, what?
Yeah, right.
That's
right.
breath support is critical. Like all this stuff that I just was just winging it, just trying to figure out. Yeah.
Most definitely. Well, and when you talk about also the crafting the lyrics for the song, I mean, I think I love the story that's in it. It's a heartbreaking one, but I love it. But the part that I like is, and that I have a question for you about is, it's here she walks into the flame. They hear the voices say, someday you'll find your peace of mind with or without her, him. And this will be, or the will to be is all you need. And so I'm wondering, what is the flame? Is that a metaphor for just acceptance, or what was that? And I don't even know if you went that far when you were thinking about it. But to me, I'm interested in hearing more about that if you have something there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was a metaphor for just acceptance. Like you're in this, the song is autobiographical mostly.
Mm-hmm.
There's some artistic liberties about, as you do, just to make it, a more compelling story. But it's more about just like knowing that the end of this relationship was coming, and just sort of admitting and accepting that like, you just got to do this. Like the true story is that I was like kind of putting off. I think we both were putting off like ending this relationship, right? Because we knew it was going to be hard,
Sure.
right? We knew that like, how are we going to make it? Like, it's going to be so hard to, I think it's why a lot of people stay in relationships longer than they should, because the idea of exiting seems really scary, and it's going to be hard. And it's like, the options are, would you rather have it be like really, really, really hard for a little bit of time, or like kind of hard forever? And so like, when you really do the math, it's like, it makes more sense to just like walk into the flame and be like, all right, we're going to just let this burn up, and it's going to be awful and hard. And, but it's going to be okay. And so, yeah, it is more about just like acceptance and just knowing like, yeah, you got to do it. You got to move on. It's time.
No, that's awesome. And I certainly relate to that very well. I was in a relationship prior to, getting cancer back in 2001 when I realized I had that. And it was just of all the wake up calls to get, it's like, obviously your relationship and whatever you're doing in your life is extremely toxic, because here you are right now. And it's like, wow, I have some choices I have to make. But it was exactly the same thing. It was, it's easier to stay in something that's painful, but at least I'm comfortable and know the boundaries of it, rather than I need to break away from this and actually do the right thing for a healthy reason. And I think that's part of what also really resonated with the song for me. So it was super awesome to hear, and I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, and I think that's somewhat universal, right? I think we all know people in our lives who are like maybe not in the best relationship, but it's comfortable.
Yep.
And it's just like, yeah, that's a thing. And this was like not really that comfortable. It was very clear, like, this isn't good for either of us. Like, what are we doing?
Sure.
It's just like, and just I don't even want to think about what I must have been like as a 22-year-old boyfriend. Not great. Not great. Yeah. So it's just like, it was, I'm sure it's on both sides. That was the other thing about this song, kind of wanting to write from both perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Because like my songs had always been sort of very self-centered, me, which the narrative is mine. And just the idea, and just trying to, whether I did it accurately or not, I guess I'll never know. But trying to capture the other side a little bit, about like, what must they be feeling?
Absolutely.
What that's like.
And to that point, even as well, I mean, I think that empathy for the other side was very clear, because to me, I suspected, this must be something about what Eric must have went through directly. But at the same time, I mean, it sounded like it was two friends of yours that you were telling a story about, both of them, and you had both sides of the story equally. So to me, I thought that was another part about that I thought was so moving for it. And, just from that perspective, like you said, I mean, I remember, same thing for me. What I was writing back then, very, very self-involved from my perspective. This is what I'm talking about as it impacts me only, and not so much, that perspective of the other person. But I thought you nailed it. That's awesome.
Yeah. The other thing about the lyrics are that are sort of tied into the real world is I was working overnights at the time, and I would get home from the overnight shift at 6:30
Oh,
a.m.
got it. Got it.
Right. And so it was like
Oh, that's cool.
the workday would be done. And so it's like if you don't know that, it's like, oh, he's waking up early or whatever, right?
Yep.
And thinking about this, but it's actually the moment right before I'm going to bed, which still in my life is like when the anxiety creeps in. It just now happens to be at like 11 p.m. The
Sure.
song would be different today. 11 p.m. That's maybe how it starts, but it doesn't quite have the same ring to it. But that was just sort of a real world, which I knew could relate, I think, to anybody who's waking up or whatever. But in my case, it was the moment right before bed when I would get home to my apartment at 38th and Grand in South Minneapolis and get in bed and just be like, oh, here it is. I've been able to distract myself, for the last however many hours because I was at work and doing stuff. And now I'm alone with my thoughts.
No, that's awesome. And that's such a cool, context, because I was thinking about that too, right? The 6:30 in the morning thing. And then when you said that, that's perfect. Well, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back with more with Eric Fairchild. Please stay with us. All right, and we're back here with Eric Fairchild again. Hey, Eric, is there anything else you wanted to share about the song The Flame?
In listening to it, I'm remembering sort of some studio things that happened. Just that moment. There's that bridge section where you kind of hear me in the background going like da 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 da, just sort of like doing scat vocals.
Yeah.
That was the scratch vocal because I sang while they played the first take.
Sure.
And I was like, I don't have lyrics for this part yet. And then Fluff and Matt Kirkwall were like, well, just do like what you think the melody is going to be. Just like sing it like that. And when I did that, they were like, I would just keep that. Like, don't write lyrics. It should just be that. And so that's what that is. That's what that thing is in the background, was me sort of like, eventually this will have words, and it never did. There's also no vocal harmonies on there, and there should be. Like, I think there probably were vocal harmonies that maybe just never got recorded. There's hindsight, lots of things I would do to improve the production of that. But I was thinking about that.
Sure.
The scat vocals.
The scat vocals. Yeah. Well, and again, I mean, talking about, shotgun middle of the night, hurry up, get these 2 songs done. Well, all right. I guess we didn't have time to add the harmonies to it. You know what I mean?
Kind of, yeah. Well, it's like, yeah, by the way, this is a secret session. In my iTunes, the album is labeled Secret Master Mix Session.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool, man. Yeah. Again, thanks for sharing that with us. And so now I want to turn it back to you, though, and find out, what are you working on now? What are you doing? What do you got going on?
Well, a lot of things have happened since, 20 some years ago.
Sure.
When that was recorded. So, I was in some different bands. I was in the band Dayfeed. I was in Attention for a really long time. We did a lot of records, a lot of touring, did some solo music. I put out a solo EP in 2015, I think another single in 2016. And then last year I put out a cover of a Tears for Fears song, Head Over Heels. Brilliant. Which, is available on all the platforms. Well, a song for me that was like foundational in my sort of like musical, like my brain coming online musically. I have this really distinct memory of being in the car with my mom. I'm probably, I don't know, 8, 9 or whatever in the 80s when that song was new. Yep. And it was on the radio, and I was listening to it and was so mesmerized by the sound. I was like, I've never heard this. No sounds have made me feel this way before. And we pulled into the garage, and I said to my mom, I was like, can we listen to the rest of this song? She was like, yeah. So we just sat in the car until the song was over. And it's just like that song is always, I don't know, there's always been something about it for me that's just like felt very just different than other songs. And I still feel that way when I hear it. Maybe not my own version, but the original version like still makes me feel that way. And fun fact, Kurt Smith from Tears for Fears was Secretly Drowning's manager.
Wow.
Yeah. So like, awesome. So years
cool.
and years and years later, when like all those connections happened, and the guy that we knew who was kind of managing us was like, I'm going to bring in another guy to be a manager with me. It's Kurt Smith from Tears for Fears. I was like, amazing. I'm sorry, what? So like I had like like just a weird starstruck,
I'm sure.
moment of like going to LA and meeting him for dinner and just being like, this is the guy that sings Everybody Wants to Rule the World. This is the guy whose song, like, he didn't sing lead on Head Over Heels, but still, like, he's a writer on it with like,
Right.
it had such a profound influence on me, like wanting to like make music and being moved by music. And yeah, so that all happened. That was last year. And then like a year ago, I joined a band called Fuzzard, Fuzzrd, with some guys that I've known forever. And another guy that I met at Orphan
Oh,
at
okay.
the same time as I met Matt Kirkwald, around that time, because Matt was also producing his band at the time, Brett Pertusik. And we've been doing, it's been about a year, and it is like so different than any band I've ever been in. It's like a total like hard rock guitar kind of throwback, like classic rock / 80s / like more like modern hard rock,
Yeah.
which is very different than anything I've done before. And honestly, something I don't know that I would have even been on my radar to like start a band like that or be
Sure.
in a band like that. But I ran into Brett somewhere and we were just talking, and then he kind of called me a couple days later and he's like, what are you doing? Like, our guitar player's leaving the band. And I was like, I like to play. I play some guitar solos. Like, now that it might be like acceptable and not passe anymore to do.
Right.
I was, by the time I got good enough to like do guitar solos, they were not cool.
I know.
Like
That's
that,
funny.
I tried really hard when I was young to shred, and then by the time I got to the point where I felt like, yeah, I could shred now, it was like, don't do that. It's Pearl Jam, it's Nirvana. We're not
Well,
shredding.
I just got to
Yeah.
say this too. Like, just going back to Secretly Drowning really quick. I knew that you were the right singer frontman guy, and that sure you had a Les Paul, you'd pick it up and you'd play some guitar during some of the songs. But it was like I never thought of you as Eric the guitar player. And then, then of course, seeing you in other bands over the years, I realized, no, Eric's a great guitar player. But then you put out something somewhere, unless I'm got my signals crossed, but you were basically like redoing a Metallica solo and nailed it. And I was just like, that was incredible, man. Like, I had no idea that one, just on a lark, you just know this and can just, basically bust that out and do it flawlessly. But that was so cool just to see that, wow, man, you've really honed your craft and just, got your skills down to such a degree that, right, like you said, when solos went passe, it's like no one would have known. But then now it's like, that's awesome. Then in Fuzzard, apparently you get to explore a lot of that, right?
Yeah, that was my quarantine project. There's a few, if you want to browse my Instagram, there's some other guitar solos I did as well.
Cool.
I was just like, well, I'm sitting at home a lot and I'm playing guitar, and I thought, well, let's, I've always wanted to learn. It was more like I always wanted to learn some of these solos.
Sure.
And so I just kind of dug in on a few that were always favorites.
Oh, that's great.
And put those up. So I'm working on a Rage Against the Machine one right now, actually.
Nice.
But
Nice.
it's proving to be a little more difficult than I anticipated. So frickin' Tom Morello.
Yeah, right,
so
right.
it's taken a little more time to get the video up, because every time I go to record it, I get frustrated and go, all right, I got to practice some more. I got to come back. So
Sure.
there's always improvement, always things to learn, for sure.
Definitely.
But Fuzzard's been fun to just like, the guys are cool. They're pro, it's like we're working with my longtime friend, Jeremy Tapero, who's in Attention. He produced and records all the Fuzzard stuff. And he was before I even joined the band. And so, it just feels like it's kind of all in the family. And it was surprising to me. I'm like, don't get me wrong, love Fuzzard, but probably wouldn't have been, like I said, on my radar as like, that's the kind of band I want to be in. But it's like, I don't know, who doesn't love I love just throwing down on the guitar.
For sure.
It's just fun. And just to get into like gear and tone and like, a thing I just haven't been doing a lot for a long time, because Attention broke up in, I think, 2012.
Yep.
So I haven't really been in like an active band since then. And so it's fun to, like, I got the 412 cabinets out of the basement that hadn't been used in years. And it's like, oh yeah, this is fun to just like turn it up and rip,
No, that's awesome. So is there actually a pending new release coming?
Yeah, there's an album that came out in December, actually, called
this past December.
Yeah, Near Life Experience.
Cool.
Which I was, I'm sort of, I would say, like half involved in that, because I joined the band kind of as that thing was already mostly recorded.
Yep.
So there's like maybe 3 songs that I had a hand in like co-writing on that. And actually didn't play on every song on the record, most of them, but so it's kind of like I was kind of just getting in as it was going. So I think going forward, I'll probably be more involved in whatever other Fuzzard stuff is happening.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, yeah, I look forward to listening to that and hearing all the new stuff that you're writing with them as it comes out. Is there so I gather Fuzzard is also across the various streaming platforms and services and things that people can go find it?
Yep, it's on all the things.
Great. And what's the best way for anyone who wants to reach out to you to get a hold of you specifically? Do you have just your website or something like that?
Geez, do I have a website right now? I don't think I do.
Okay.
I think you probably just want to find me on Instagram, Secretly Eric, which
Awesome.
is an old homage to the Secretly Drowning days.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I'm Secretly Eric on all the things. So
Okay.
if you want to find me that, actually, you can go to secretlyeric.com. I do own that. I just remembered that secretlyeric.com is a place as well to find me.
Great. Awesome. Well, I'll make sure that I post up all of the related links to all of your stuff that I have and again, your social media sites and things so people can reach out to you and learn more if they want to reach out and get connected. But Eric, thank you so much for taking the time and talking through the flame. And yeah, man, I really appreciate it.
Happy to be here. Always great to talk to you, Brad.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Three Crows Club presents B-Side Breakdown.
All right, and that wraps up the second episode of the B-Side Breakdown. Thanks again to Eric Fairchild for coming along and talking about The Flame by Secretly Drowning. Also want to thank Osa Moon for providing the background song you're listening to right now, which is called Escape from the Golden Cage. You can find it on Spotify and Apple Music. And I also want to thank Adam Coulong and Carrie Bozel for, again, your assistance in putting together the jingle for this podcast that you hear at the beginning and the end. And be sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, or bsidebreakdown.com. And also, if you're looking for Eric Fairchild, you can find him at secretlyeric.com. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.